while what you can talk about in this session, long title, but for me the title is very succinct. It's deep tech and fintech, right? And how will deep tech transform fintech? And the thing about deep tech and fintech is deep tech is not going to leave you, or rather you are not going to leave deep tech ever, and fintech is never going to leave our lives. Finance is so deeply ingrained with everybody's life. Not now, it has been the same case since ever. So with that, I will, get started. I think, what we want to ensure today, as a takeaway for everybody is to see where the future of fintech lies as it gets, tsunamied by deep tech. With that, I'll get started with my eminent panel. So one thing I wanted to kind of get started with both of you is, you guys are driving products in fintech. You have deep expertise in deep tech. Where do you see the convergence of the deep tech as an outcome of fintech product? And would love to hear specific examples from each one of you, in this domain.
Okay, first of all, you very rightly said, Nishant, with the amount of disruption that we are seeing in the technology, there is so much that our product offerings could benefit our customers. Who would have imagined the world would change when we started experiencing UPI, right? From carrying the cash in our back pocket to almost now cashless transaction. And a similar trend you could see for the offering. So just a little bit context I'll set, representing Intuit over here. We are primarily serving our customers in two sectors, consumers as well as small businesses. And when you look at the technology shift that we have started to witness for both consumers and small businesses, the power of the AI today is changing the world in terms of how we are doing the taxes. From the stage wherein you would have your own physical expert to almost sweeping that with the virtual expert platform that we are providing to our customers, where you could take the tax advices. And from doing it yourself to almost now doing it for them is the massive shift that we are seeing with the technology. Similarly, in the space of the small businesses, what we are witnessing is whether it is to do with you're an entrepreneur, you need the capital to get going on your business, to thrive on your business. I had to go to financial institutions to get the loans. Our success rate with the introduction of AI ML, what we are seeing is we are able to serve and provide loans to our customers at much faster pace. So across the different capabilities within the product, we are seeing the massive industry shift with the power of the technology that we have. Whether we talk about from the risk scoring to providing the capital, also optimization in terms of certain workflows that the customers use for our product.
So let me put you on the spot here, and a lot of us who have lived in US and filed taxes in US cannot miss Intuit, right? QuickBooks 999 can't mix them, miss that on the tax day, April 15th. Having said that, few years ago, Intuit, or especially QuickBooks, would have a pop-up, with, if you're doing this, give me two other examples. So, what I would say is customer service was inbuilt in the product. Today, can I say the chartered accountant or CFA is inbuilt in the product? Or will that happen ever?
Yeah, so I would...
If regulators bless you?
Yeah, I would... So, well, I'll redirect the regulator question to Shilpa for sure. But let me put it like this. When you look at some of the products that you've consumed, whether you consumed as a taxpayer or as an entrepreneur, you've been using QuickBooks, the journey of the investment in the data started almost a decade back.
Absolutely.
It was very, very intentional and deliberate to look at carving out the data acquisition strategy. It was very intentional to look at the power of the data that will flow. To answer your question, Nishant, yes, today we almost save close to 300K hours of customer service through the bots that are applying.
Awesome.
There is almost 60 petabytes of data that moves through the platform.
300,000
2
hours
million
and 60
data
petabytes.
models
Awesome.
run every single day, which gives us the insight of where the customer is in the financial journey. And based on that, we are able to provide meaningful insights and proactively reach out with the recommendations on not just filing taxes, but also looking at how you can grow your business.
Thank you, Nidhi, for providing absolute numbers. It just really helps. Shilpa, go ahead. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the products.
Thank you so much, and good morning to all of you. It's still morning, right? So yeah, nice to be here, and nice to be addressing this forum of how fintechs and deep tech can really impact a banking sector like us. So to give you a bit of introduction, Natixis is a French corporate and investment banking entity. We are a part of a broader parent organization called BPCE. BPCE is, if I have to draw a parallel, is like State Bank of India in India, but in France. So most of the French citizens have like a savings bank certificate that starts with BPCE typically. So that's us, and I think we have a huge pressure to adopt technology in banking, and we cannot be left behind compared to the other sectors. Of course, it's much more visible when it is retail or healthcare because it's out there, right? In a banking industry, people do expect the same kind of service. Today, you have your iPhones, which recognize your face and sort of you can log into your the most secure applications that you use. The same kind of expectation is there even for the banking industry. Today, I cannot tell my customer that, oh, my systems are down. We do have a legacy system and architecture. Can you please come back tomorrow for your checkbook? These are ancient methods of practice. Today, there is a expectation of the consumers to have similar experience that they experience with better products in retail or some other sector, even in banking. So because of that, I think there is a huge adoption of not just artificial intelligence, but blockchain, open banking, metaverse, and similar other technologies that has applicability in the financial industry. Specifically calling out artificial intelligence here because that is more relevant for us as of today. And it is being used not just in in creating efficiencies in a bank because banks are typically middle office and back office heavy. There's a lot of operations that we conduct, but also able to service our customers and clients better. And forecasting, right? So there is a huge applicability of artificial intelligence in forecasting. And the better that banks are able to forecast NBIs or any such metrics, we are able to hedge the risk better.
So let me ask you something. Since you talked about BPCE and the SBI, this thing, and the amount of, I can just imagine the amount of cash you guys are sitting on. So obviously, it makes you too rich. But with all of this, you have to cogitate the future of banking vis-a-vis the perils of having a regulator and a strong regulator, because you do want to fintech is a regulated industry. It should be regulated in some way, otherwise it's going to be black ages in no time. What's your thought on how deep tech can be used to regulate the fintech industry more appropriately?
So I was just talking to you the huge usage of artificial intelligence in risk and forecasting methodologies. So that itself is a regulatory topic, and today the push to adopt artificial intelligence is not coming from the banks or the customers, but on the flip side, it's coming from the regulators. So they are asking us, what is the impact of, let's say, climate risk on your portfolio? What is the impact of near-term, floods or rains on your portfolio of companies? What is the impact that the customer has to endure? Let's say, God forbid, there was a forest fire, right? So it could be in insurance, it could be in corporate banking like us, it could be even for retail bank because their investments are also in typically in a large portfolio managed by an asset manager. So I think regulators are pushing us to adopt AI. There are multi-factor authentication that we have to put in place to ensure there is a good score and the risk appetite of a customer. Similarly, I think this helps us in, like I said, hedging the portfolio better. So the risk is lower. I think economists will thrive better because we are able to predict the future a lot better with AI. So I think it's more regulator-driven adoption of artificial intelligence for us.
Fantastic, good. So Nidhi, let me ask you something. You obviously said about QuickBooks and Intuit in general has huge amount of customer data, and I'm sure it meticulously, goes through all of that data to make sure there is no security, especially cyber security threats around either online or offline. How do you meticulously go around this data and make sure that there is no or minimal threats to customer data?
I think partially Shilpa also touched about it. Gone are the days when we would look at authenticating using your personal identification PIN and the passcode. Now, given when you look at the disruption in the fintech, the power comes from the collaboration and the connected ecosystem, right? Intuit also is no different. We are the open platform where not only we are looking at the data exchange, right? For example, just to pay your vendors, you would look at connecting with your financial institution. There's such huge sheer volume of the data that flows over the ecosystem, and hence it becomes our responsibility to make sure that the data is secure.
Got it.
Right, and there are many different practices that we have put in place to ensure there is protection against the cyber threat. The more the data gets onto the platform, the more rotation of the data that's happening. There is, of course, the security compliance that starts coming in, and not just internal to look at ensuring that the data with which the customer is entrusting us is secure. We are also binded by the compliance. We all are aware of the data governance that we need to comply to with respect to the access to the data, and also having the power of what to do with the data in the hands of the customers. So in case if I, let's say as a consumer, decides that I do not want my data to be made active, I can any day apply for deletion of the entire data trail.
Fantastic.
So there are these binding that starts coming in for which you are responsible, as much as you're looking forward to look at the data acquisition to simplify the process and bring in the efficiencies. You're also responsible for securing the data.
Fantastic. And let me bring this story back home then. So India Bharat story of fintech is the UPI story, right? UPI story is built around speed. It is built about security, and it's built on scale, right? The 3 S's. So where do you guys see the disruption of similar UPI kind of disruptions in the fintech using DeepTech as the undercurrent? What do you guys think? Love to hear your thoughts on this, Shilpa.
I think tokenization.
Tokenization.
Although I think it gets attached to cryptocurrency, and by that order and logic, it is something like a taboo today if I talk about cryptocurrency because of what we have gone through as an economy. But it is here to stay. How many of you today have mutual funds, investment in mutual funds? All of you almost, right?
Fantastic.
You have an exposure. How many of you have invested in tokens today?
Few.
Hardly a few. Yeah, so that's the new way of measuring your investment in any kind of asset. Your equities are nothing but a stake in a company. Your fixed income is nothing but your debt to a company. And the equities model is going to be nothing but a new model of tokenization, right? So your stake in a company will be by the way of tokens rather than traditional equities. And that is going to take some time to change because we do not have the necessary infrastructure to evaluate or do the valuation of these tokens because it's too far off from the underlying assets. But I think in the near future, this is going to be connected quite closely. And that's how the entire financial industry is going to be disrupted. And I would like to watch how it's going to really pan out in the future.
Absolutely.
But I think do not take my word for it and start investing in tokens. Be careful of your investments. But all I'm saying
this is not an investment advice.
Advice, yes.
Okay, cool.
This is gonna be
So,
the future.
so we have heard about hindsight, we have talked about insight. Let's very quickly also touch about foresight. Foresight is important because none of us have can gaze at the crystal ball, but at the same time we do want to know, or we do want to have some thoughts around that. So how do you guys think the future of banking, specifically banking, and if possible, Indian banking in India would be revolutionized by fintech. And we don't have too much time, so I'd like you to be succinct.
Yeah, I would probably, defer to Shilpa for the potential in the India market. However, I would put it across like this. Shilpa was just covering on the tokenization, and we very recently started supporting the taxes that will incur if you have the digital assets acquired through our offering of TurboTax. The disruption to me would start coming in when we start, opening up the platform to truly become OpenAI, something which we started very closely to witness in the India market through the India stack. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Shilpa.
I think the near future for me, which could be the next game changer, is the project called OCIN, right? Open Credit Enablement Network. I know it's still yet to hit ground, but I think the kind of credit accessibility that small, medium enterprises can have, and along with it, the associated services that fintechs can build for this segment or huge population of SMEs, I think is going to be a game changer for India. It's going to do what UPI did for payments, but for credit enablement.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with that, I would just say we have had fantastic session. Hearing about the prospects of deep tech in cybersec, in fintech, with terms of new offerings, in terms of personas or co-pilots of creating virtual CFAs, and if you think about it, the possibilities are immense. We are still, speed is something which we will continue to break barriers in when it comes to fintech in general, and riding on top of deep tech to make fintech far more successful is absolutely the name of the game as we go along. So with that, I thank both of you, my immense panelists, and I really hope you had as much fun as I did talking to you today. Thank you.